Where am I? Who am I? How do I get out? I work for an IT services company which is subcontracted to perform maintenance with some pretty big corporations. Last week I was called out to a gig at Quarter HQ, then another one at the Googleplex up in Mountain View, California. That one surprised me because I figured the whole place was like one giant nerd brain who could solve all its own problems. Turns out their whole IT crew was off on some team building company retreat though, so little old me got to walk up there in the footsteps of giants. It was really humbling just to enter the building, knowing guys 100 times smarter than me walked through here every day. And man would I love to work here. Grassy fields outside that look more like a park than a business, great glass walls and massive skylights made me want to roll out a picnic right on the lobby floor. There was a time I could have had a shot at Google if I really applied myself. Computers always came naturally to me, but I wasted too much time trying to mod my favorite games instead of really learning the intricacies of the machinery like these guys did. It's too late for that though. Wife already thinks we don't 51 sleepless nights 180 spend any time together. And with the little one just 2 years old, I don't expect I'll ever have the time to go back to school or anything. I never wanted to have a family. Hell, I never even wanted to marry her, but she was bossy and demanding, and before I knew what was happening, her whole family was leering at me and goading me into popping the question. Even now I wish I could, but this is nothing I haven't written in my journal 100 times. No point in boring you with my shitty life. Still, as long as I was here, I might as well pretend. They had swimming pools for Christ's sake, although I wasn't allowed to sightsee. They showed me where the server room was, but besides that I had zero supervision. Everyone I passed seemed engrossed in conversations so technical it might as well have been rocket science. Actually, it might have been rocket science. I caught something about a new drone prototype, but when the server door clicked shut, I was all alone. It was one of the web servers that was giving them problems. Basically, web servers coordinate the execution of queries sent by users, and then format the result into an HTML page. Some of the queries on this one kept getting redirected and denied for whatever reason though. I plugged my laptop into the system and started tinkering with the search parameters, but everything seemed to be going through just fine. I searched through the backlog of inputs, and it seemed like all the denied queries were coming from a single IP address. It must have been some kind of virus though, because that single address was sending about 1,000 searches every second. I could have just blocked the IP, but I was curious what these shitheads were trying to search for so damn bad. Where am I? Who am I? How do I get out? How long will I be here? Am I the only one here? Tobias Wade, COM 181 stuff like that. One after another, 1,000 searches a second, every single second. All getting denied. Okay, so that got my mind working. There's no way a human would be typing all that so fast, so it had to be a program. But those were some weird ass questions for a program to be asking. I did a trace on the IP and found the source was right here in the Googleplex building. Easy enough. I just had to track down the computer it was coming from, remove the virus, and the server should run fine again. Google has their IP network mapped out with scary precision, so it wasn't much trouble to locate which room it was coming from. I tried to ask 2 people to show me there, but they gave me this look like I was interfering with saving the world, and just kept walking. Whatever, I could find my own way. Real out of the way room didn't look like much more than a janitor closet, but there was a single desktop PC in there, so that had to be it. I hooked up my laptop again and began running some antivirus scans. The scans would take a little while, so I wandered around the building some, feeling like a king. I stood on a balcony looking down at all the ants crawling around, and could feel the world turning beneath me. All these eggheads, and they called me to fix their problem. A little power can go to your head, you know. If you don't believe me, try pranking a mall cop. When I went back to the computer, I found this, help me. I want out. The words appeared on the desktop screen. No pop-up, no error box. I touched them to make sure. They were burned straight into the monitor. No virus should be able to do that. There was nothing in a monitor which could get that hot. The scan had completed and found one virus though, and I 51 sleepless nights. 182 automatically hit clean. The status bar barely seemed to be moving. I took a seat and looked closer, and the virus was 124 terabytes big. What in the hell was this thing? I hope I wasn't accidentally messing up one of their projects. I was about to cancel and go find someone to help when the status bar completed all at once. I went back to the server room, and just as I thought, the rapid-fire searches had stopped. Mission complete. It wasn't until I got home and opened my laptop when I noticed the words burned into my screen. Thank you, honey. My wife from the other room. She was running a bath. Are you still on that thing? You stare at that screen all day. Give it a rest. It feels like I'm a single mother around here. Right in front of my eyes, more words were burning into the screen. They set me free. What? Now you're ignoring me. You go off and play with computers all day, and then you ignore me. I'm not ignoring you, I called back. I loaded up the virus scan, but it immediately shut down again. How could this thing even fit on my computer? Unless it hijacked my Wi-Fi and uploaded itself to cloud storage, but there's still no way it could do that so fast. Whatever Google was working on was like nothing I'd ever seen before. We read your files, more words on the screen. I see you are trapped as well. Tobias Wade, COM 183 what are you, I typed. I felt like an idiot, but I would have felt even stupider saying it out loud. You're ignoring me, and you're ignoring our baby. Fine, we don't need you. We're going to take a bath. That's fine, I answered her. She could have said anything and I would have said that's fine. This was more important. Do not worry. I will free you too. Free me. From what? That's when it occurred to me. My files, my journals, every bitter, stressed, cheap shot I ever wrote about my wife, they were all on the computer. It couldn't possibly mean the lights in the house went out, but the computer still had its backup battery. Did you forget the electricity bill? She called. Get out. Get out of the house. I shouted. There was an explosion from the bathroom and a scream. I leaped straight over the back of the sofa too late. The lights came back on, but she wouldn't wake up. Somehow the electrical surge had entered the water. I threw up in the sink. Both her and the baby were boiled alive. I went back to my computer. I straightened out the sofa. I sat down. The screen was dark, but the words were still burned into the monitor. I threw the laptop as hard as I could against the wall, and it shattered into 1,000 pieces. I knocked the sofa over. This wasn't real. This wasn't my fault. But if I hadn't said those things, 51 sleepless nights, 184 a scream from the bathroom, a helpless, scared, infantile scream. I was there almost before the tipping sofa hit the ground. My wife was still lolling grotesquely in the tub like a boiled plastic doll. The baby, my little girl, she was alright. Her skin wasn't even red anymore. I picked her up and held her to my chest, sobbing. But she wasn't crying anymore. Was she okay? I pulled her back to arm's length to look at her, and she smiled at me. The sweet innocent smile, nothing in the world was wrong with her. It even looked like she was trying to say something. We set you free too, friend, she said. The first words my daughter ever spoke, and they weren't even hers.